So the Supreme Court, in a landmark ruling, said, free speech, you have the right to, say certain things, but you don't have the right to cry fire in a crowded theater. Okay? Well, I don't think you have the right to put, racist symbols in the face of, black people in particular, who those symbols carry immense and terrorizing meanings. Okay? I shouldn't have to walk down the street and see that. Okay? I just shouldn't. I'm an American citizen. I should not have to do it. And by the way,
talking about the guy in your neighborhood with a flag?
I'm talking about anybody that's doing that.
So you think the law should take down his
what
private
I'm saying
flag?
is that's almost the equivalent of crying fire in a crowded theater. Okay, that's what I would say. There's a limit to that. If you want to put that in your house, cool. But if I'm walking down the street with my 2-year-old daughter, I don't want her having to see that. Okay, and I don't think you have a right to do it personally. And
how can a newspaper man whose life is built around the First Amendment
telling you,
say that guy does not have the right to express himself?
Because I understand limits of the First Amendment. It's not absolute. Like, everybody knows that.
It's his property on his house and his speech.
Yeah.
And
if I want to hang people in my front yard, it's cool.
That is a murder. That's not an expression of an opinion. Are you really saying that?
All right, if I want to put a picture of a lynching in my front yard, that's okay?
Yes, it's okay. It's terribly inappropriate. Okay. It's terribly hurtful, but it is free speech.
So if you want to be an absolutist about it, that's fine. But there are consequences that come with that. But let me go on. So like tearing down, historical relics, in a time of war, I don't think you should be able to do that. But like destroying a museum, destroying antiquities and stuff, it's not the same as taking down, symbols of hate. That's what those Confederate statues represent. Okay, that's what it represents. Like,
so did
Now, and the last thing I would just say is there was a great story. I think it was in the Washington Post today, because I've been thinking about this. Why are there no statues of Hitler? Okay, like in Germany. Like those people aren't stupid enough to do that. Okay. Like, we would sit over here and go,
because they don't have a First Amendment and they lost a war.
I'm just saying, that part of their history is something that they are ashamed of, okay, that they don't celebrate. They don't have Hitler Day and all that kind of nonsense, okay? They don't do that, right? And the reason they don't do that is because they're trying to create an inclusive society. They're trying to get away.
They're trying to engineer a society by taking away free expression.
Well, there's a great story in the Washington Post that explains why there are no statues of Hitler. Okay? Am I saying that?
Because it's against the law in Germany.
Well, thank God they have that law.
It blows my mind that, again, a guy who's
I'm a black man.
You're a black man. I get it.
And I'm raising black kids.
You're black kids,
and I want my kids to live in a society where they don't have to fear for their lives and they don't have to feel less than because we celebrate things that tried to subjugate us.
So in other words, the principle of free expression is secondary to somebody's comfort when it comes to walking down the street.
So I believe in what the Godfather says. I'm cool as long as your interests don't conflict with mine, okay? And as long as you don't make me feel less than, as long as I'm not walking around.
Was the Skokie case decided in the right?
Subjugated?
Was that the right decision?
Yeah, because,
And if you're a Jewish man in Skokie, Illinois, who probably feels exactly the same way that you feel about your neighbor with that flag, how in the world do you explain it to the Jewish guy who says those people want to kill all of us?
Skokie wasn't about, hanging Nazi flags up in front of the State House.
It was a right to parade.
It was a
We're
right
talking about the flag in your neighborhood.
It was a right to protest, right?
And that guy has a flag in his house.
It was a momentary thing, and the Jewish community had the right to have a counter protest.
I just find the danger. I
understand the danger.
The danger of any group.
You don't?
No, I'm not discounting the hate behind it. What I'm worried about is the principle that some group says, I find that insulting, dangerous, threatening to me. You don't have the right to express it. You don't have the right to say it. Keep it behind closed doors on a guy it's his own property. I believe when I said that there were good liberals, those good liberals were the ones who fought for those neo-Nazis. They put principle, and most of those lawyers were Jewish themselves.
Hey, look, I don't have a problem. If the white supremacists want to have a demonstration down the middle of the street in Denver, I don't care.
So if I
mean,
want to put up, if I want to put, there's a
no.
flag behind you that is a Gadsden flag, which has been now somehow connected with the Tea Party movement. A lot of people think the Tea Party movement is a hateful movement and now somehow racist, which I
That
don't get.
flag has never been used to oppress me. It hasn't appeared at the homes of my forefathers when they were burning crosses.
And in
there.
100
So
years,
that
when
flag
they look,
doesn't scare me.
in 100 years, when they look back and see those flags at Trump rallies, and somebody says, "No, those were used to oppress me. They didn't understand it at the time. Now we do." No, that's my property, and I should have the right to put up that flag.
There are certain symbols that carry more power than others, that create more danger than others, okay? There are some symbols that are so hateful, so egregious, so demeaning, like the swastika.
And you get to be the arbiter of that.
I'm not the arbiter of it. I'm just
You want
saying,
government to be the arbiter of who has speech and who doesn't. That scares the hell out of me.
I'm just saying, look, man, like if if my neighbor had a Confederate flag hanging from his house every day,
Yeah.
I'd ask him to take it down. I'd say, look, fly that in your house. I'm cool with that.
And if you
and if he said no, and we managed to avoid a conflict, a physical conflict, then I'd have to make the decision whether I wanted to live next to somebody that espoused that kind of what I consider hate, or live with it.
And if you
I
had
don't think the latter would be possible.
If you had a
for
Black
me.
Panthers flag out,
Black Panther's flag has never been used to oppress white people.
I'm not saying that. If you had a Black Panthers flag and he found that threatening or insulting, or he didn't like it, and he was able to get enough people to say, that's wrong, you got to take it down.
I would say that, like, on what grounds? Because you're
on your grounds?
But no, what grounds? Because you personally don't like the Black Panther Party.
Because he feels threatened by it.
Yeah, but there's no historical context to that feeling, okay? Like, the difference between the Nazi flag and the Confederate flag is that those were symbols of official oppression.
I feel the exact same way when I see people.
Do you see that?
I see it.
All right.
I feel the exact same way when I see progressives walking around with a hammer and sickle. A hammer and sickle under that flag has oppressed more people, killed more people, purged and committed genocide, much more so than the Confederate flag and the Nazi flag put together. But yet, you walk around at those protests, you see guys walking around with hammer and sickles. If I had my way, I would ban those too. And before you know it, we're on a circle of banning speech.
And
Trust me, I'm saying this, take it for what it's worth.
No, it's an intellectual argument. To me, it's an intellectual argument.
I find that symbol so hateful, so disgusting, so repugnant, so dangerous, that it should be wiped from the face of the earth. But I can't say the government's job is to do that.
Look, I understand that, okay? Like, if you take every argument to its infinite degree, I mean, like, okay.
No, what's the difference? You said Confederate flag, I said hammer and sickle.
The hammer and sickle in parts of Eastern Europe probably have the same symbolic power to elicit fear and terror as the Confederate flag. But I bet you the Confederate flag, if you flew it in Russia, doesn't mean anywhere near. They probably don't give a damn about it.
See, and that goes to a collectivist versus individualist point of view. From an individualist point of view, let me tell you, I find that flag offensive as hell.
I actually understand that.
But just because there's more people...
And if I were your neighbor, and I was flying that flag because I just happen to like the colors, and you came over to me and you said, hey, you know what?
Yeah, but that's not what you said. You wanted a law to take down the flag.
I didn't say anything about the hammer and sickle.
The Confederate flag. You said that guy
why.
on his private property.
I explained why.
We're going to go around in circles.
Okay, no.
Let's get...
Am I boring you?
You've always bored me. That's why I only talk to you when I'm drinking.
Okay.
Let's get to the larger issue. We've touched a bit on free speech.